waterproofing and concrete lifting. Give them a call at 423-320-8883 or visit them online at ussTN.com.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 1013, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 1013.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no style. Got a thirst for killing. Think about it.
Welcome to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. I hope everyone out there is having a good Thursday. Myself, Jacob, and we got Philip is in the station today, making everything happen. Appreciate Philip coming in today and producing the show. But a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, and there's still no baseball going on, obviously, since the All-Star game. But and I know that Jacob and I are a little bit more into golf than Andy, but the British Open's going on today, and it's a links course. Obviously, every time the British Open is played, it's a links course over there in the UK and everything. But hey, you've got some really neat. I think you've got a really neat leaderboard, and we'll start off with a guy that's tied for the lead right now. Guy from this area, Harris English, played at UTC. He is tied for the lead, along with Mitch Fitzpatrick. And then you got Scotty Scheffler, it's just one back at 3 under. So a really interesting leaderboard there with the and I do call it the British Open. I know most people call it the Open. I do like to distinguish. So we got the U.S. Open, we got the British Open. So I do say British Open, but really, really cool leaderboard. And you got Ricky Fowler is 2 under, another guy that's very, very popular with a lot of people. You got Phil Mickelson 1 under. And you've got Roy McIlroy also 1 under. So you got a lot of guys within 1 to 3 shots in the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's a pretty that's a good list. It's a very interesting list to me of guys competing, because you have guys that have are at the top of their game, like McIlroy, who just won the Masters, and then you got Ricky Fowler, who has struggled to make some cuts, in some big events recently. So you've got a good mixture. Obviously, Scotty is, in my opinion, the most electric golfer to watch. You just never know when that guy is going to, he could be 4 or 5 strokes down and then make an absolute run and go win an event. But it's super exciting. Then a hometown guy over here at UTC in English,
Harris English, yeah,
who is tied for the lead. So that's, in my younger years, I didn't really enjoy watching golf, and then when I started playing golf, it made me respect what these guys are doing. We talked about was it the U.S. Open that was up in
Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh? Yeah.
Good Lord, we talked about it that week, what we thought we would shoot, and I would have easily been like a 200.
1 under won that tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no chance you and I we'd still be out there.
Yeah. And then, I was playing golf recently, and I lost a ball that I thought I striped right in the middle of the fairway, but then it rolled off into the thick stuff, and then I searched, 5 or so minutes, and then pace of play comes around, and, it's so frustrating. Golf is a very humbling sport. So to watch those guys do what they do, I enjoy watching golf, especially the Sundays, when the championship round comes around.
And a link-style golf course, which, in case you don't know what a link-style golf course is, a link style is more of like on a coast. It's a coastal type golf course on a sandy type of terrain, no trees, and the one thing that always stands, the deep bunkers. And I've never played a golf course that's a true link style. I've played a couple golf courses that had very few trees, but not a true links style.
Have you ever been to like Scotland or England?
No.
So with Lee, I went on my Scotland England trip, and when we were in Scotland and playing, when we were around the Isles, the wind that was coming at me, I'm not kidding you, I climbed up what would be classified as like a large hill here, and I could barely stand. I was having to hold on to my now wife. She was my girlfriend then. I was having to hold on to her to make sure that she didn't fall over. So I think about, like, there's times where the wind is coming in off the shores like that, and how hard that could be to play golf in, you know?
And the thing is, every year the British Open is played on a links course like that, and you watch how the wind and it's cold. Listen, I mean, nobody's out there without a jacket on or a sweater because it's in the 50s, man.
Brother, when I got off the bus at Oban, midsummer, May, right? It was snowing. There was snow falling from the sky. It was 34 degrees in Oban, Scotland, which is northern Scotland. So I just think about, like, the further we got south, the more comfortable the weather got. But even on like rainy days, like, it was cold midsummer. So like the English people that talk about, oh, we're in a heat wave, I'm like, give me a break. Like I was over there, I experienced it. Give me a break. It gets warm. But the reason they say is because they don't have AC in all of their brick buildings like we do. Mm-hmm. God bless America and AC. That's, But they complain about that stuff. But I couldn't imagine playing at a golf course like that. I know for me, I would be in the 200s. Philip, you look like a golfer. Are you a golfer?
I'm actually not. I am not a golfer. I've played sometimes, but I've got bad shoulders, so I can't play more like 4 holes without starting to break down. But if I could play the U.S. Open, I'll probably shoot at 300. Let's be honest. I'm not a golfer.
There you go. Go.
It is a sport that and like I said, you and I are just out there occasionally. We times we'll hit a really good shot, and then another time you flub up or whatever. But it's when you hit that good shot, it makes you want more.
Oh, it's the thing.
Once you make more,
it's the thing that keeps you coming back.
It does.
I'm going to shout out my brother-in-law here. He was having a rough mid-round, and then he sunk like a 35-foot putt, and he's like, "I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm back." And I said, "Man, those shots right there are the ones that we could be sucking all day long." But you sink one of those, or you tuck one near the pin. It's what keeps you coming back to the course.
And golf is one of those sports where you have to play it regularly to maintain or to improve your game. If you play it like I do, 3, 4, 5 times a year max, you're always going to have, especially your short game's going to suffer. And but if you play it once a week, preferably twice a week, your short game will improve dramatically. Pitching and putting and that's where you score.
Well, you look at how Tiger Woods became what he was. His dad made him start on the putting green, and then he started to learn how to be able to read putts and started getting good at that, and then he started chipping and then started moving his way back. John Daly even talks about it. Like the thing that is different between pros and the average golfers is 150 in. Like that's what defines a good golfer. You think about how many times you're around the green in regulation and then walk off the green with a, plus score.
Yeah, my late dad, he's been gone for like 20 years, and he was a regular over here at the old Rolling Hills golf course. He ended up with 7 holes in one in his life because from 100 yards in, my dad was unbelievably good. I mean, that's why he could just pitch and putt with the best of them. But that is where you score. With the old thing, you hit for show and you putt for dough. That's true.
Yeah,
that's a true statement. But it's just it's a sport there. It's not for everyone. No. Not everyone likes it. A lot of people don't like golf because it's a slow sport. It is you're not playing against, like you and I go out there. We're not playing against each other. We're playing against the course. Now, obviously, we're going to compare our scores, but it's you versus that golf course.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
Well, I normally get beat up by the golf course, so coming back with a few black eyes is normally what it looks like.
But it is the one thing about the British Open that I think makes it most difficult. are the weather conditions, the wind and the rain.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for that? You'd have to go over there and spend a month over there to prepare for those conditions. Now, the guys that are from that area, it's old hat. I was like, Roy McIlroy, that stuff does not faze him.
Yeah,
because he grew up
He
like
grew
that.
up in it. Yeah.
But someone that's from the States and then maybe they live in Florida, you don't experience stuff like that. You have to just go there. They play the Scottish Open the week before, so you got 1 week of golf in those type of conditions to prepare you for this.
So the next thing that we need to add to, it's not live. What's the one that Tiger and Roy created? The one that's inside the dome, the golf.
Oh
league.
yeah. What is that called? You had it was on. It's like made for TV. It's all simulation.
Yeah, it's a
stuff.
simulation thing. I think that they should add. I think Philip's looking it up for us here.
Yeah, it's a TGL league.
The TGL. There
right,
you
yeah.
go. I think the next thing that they should add is like some weather conditions inside. Put some big old fans in there.
That'd be entertaining, that's for sure.
Start adding some some hazardous weather, just to kind of make that a little bit more fun. Or hey, even better, you get to one time around, the other team gets to poke like the wind tunnel.
That would be hilarious.
And now that's like an obstacle, kind of like how they have that hammer you throw down. One time around, you get to press a button, and say you're 50 yards in, and now you got to deal with like 40 mile an hour crosswinds.
And I'll say it right here. When it's windy and rainy, my game falls apart. Absolutely falls apart. Especially, I can't hardly grip the clubs when it's real wet. And then the wind messes with you psychologically. You're like, well, I got to hit this low, Jim. If you hit it too high, the wind will knock it down. And then you try to do something bad or different, and then you really mess up your swing and everything.
Hey, the good thing is my wife doesn't listen to this, so I can just openly say it. If it's windy and rainy and I told her I'm going to play golf, I'm in the clubhouse eating a good meal and saying, yeah, I'm wrapping it up around on 18 right here. I'll be home in a little while, but really all I've done is maybe gone out to the putting green a little bit and chowed down on a good clubhouse meal.
I've played in a few tournaments, and listen, if it's my dime and it's windy and rainy, I'm not paying to play. But if I'm in a tournament and someone else has paid for it, I'm going to go out there. But, man, it messes with me. And, it's so funny because I've been paired up with some people. It doesn't faze them at all. They can hit the ball rainy, windy. It doesn't faze them at all. Me, I have to have really good conditions to play golf. I guess I'm a softie.
Yeah, me too. It's okay. I go out there just for the vibes and the good time anyway. So
You got, like I said, a really good leaderboard. Like I said, Harris English from right down the road at UTC. Scotty Scheffler, 3 under, 1 behind. Like I said, Lee Westwood, Ricky Fowler's 2 behind. So you got some really good names out there. Justin Rose is 2 under. Sam Burns, Phil Mickelson's 1 under. And then you got Shane Lowry's 1 under, and then Roy McIlroy. So a really good, solid leaderboard.
Jim, I'm getting called out on air here. I just got a text message with a video from my friend Barrett of me, perfect conditions, playing Harrison Bay up in Crossville. And I've
played up there.
You know
before.
those Q Star balls that are really fun to watch fly, the yellow and red ones when they spin.
Yes,
yeah. You watch it hit a tree and then come flying right back at me. So I'm getting called out here on air about my golf game. So shout out to Barrett. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now all the listeners know that I suck at golf.
But you love it though. You may not be, but it's fun. It's an addictive sport.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, it's an addictive sport. But sometimes it's so expensive.
That was a dirty video to pull out. That was on my birthday too. Like that one even digs in a little worse. That was a birthday round.
And hey, but the SEC football media days is wrapping up today. Boy, this foursome that they had in Atlanta today. Sam Pittman, Arkansas.
Hot seat.
Bob Stoops, Kentucky.
Hot seat.
Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri.
He's fun.
Mike Elko at Texas A&M. He's only 1 year, so you got to give him a little grace.
I think they like what he's trying to do over there.
Yeah, and obviously 0 SEC championship game championships among those 4 guys. So not exactly a murderer's row when it came to the SEC football championship games or media days, I should say. But the Eli Drinkwitz did say something that I thought was interesting. He said that he actually favors he's more in line with the Big Ten proposal of having the 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, 2 ACC, 2 Big 12 teams making the playoffs. But he said he would have it a 4-4-3-3, where the ACC would get 3, the Big 12 would get 3, one group of 5, and then one at large, because he says he wants to eliminate the selection committee altogether.
And I somewhat get that. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you the perspective of why the SEC, in my opinion, wants the 5+11, and why the Big Ten, for the most part, wants the
4-4-2-2-1-1. Yeah.
So if you look back and you see how revenue gets split, the winner of the winner of the SEC, or the guy who goes the furthest in the SEC, they normally get the biggest chunk of money out of that, and then there's a percentage that gets distributed to the rest of the conference. In the Big Ten, you look at Ohio State, they won it all, and I'm pretty sure they only walked away with like $2 million. Notre Dame walked away with $20 million because they're an independent.
Yeah, they don't have to share with nobody.
They don't have to share with anybody, and they went all the way. Ohio State, who won it, only took home around, I think it was around $2 or $4 million, something like that. So the Big Ten wants a guaranteed 4 teams in, because that's guaranteed revenue every year that's going to be split around the conference.
18 ways.
Yes. The SEC knows that each year they're going to at least have 4.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
There's going to be years where, sure, they might not, but there's going to be years where they most likely have 4, if not more. And to me, the 5-11 model is the model that says, all right, hey, you get rewarded for winning your conference. Like, you get an automatic bid in. That doesn't mean you get an automatic bye, but you get an automatic bid in. And then we take the 11 best teams. I'm for the 11 best teams playing. I don't care.
And
to me, there's going to be years where that 4th Big Ten, the Big Ten is super top heavy right now, and they may catch up to the SEC where there's a ton of depth, but they're super top heavy right now. The SEC has more depth in the middle, and there's going to be years where you have a Miami, a Florida State, and a Clemson that all deserve to be in. And we shouldn't do this +2 for them. But then there's going to be years where there may only be one true ACC team, like a Florida State.
And then you got the Big 12, which you never know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, you might have an SMU or, whatever. But to me, if you do the 5+11, that awards all of the conference champions for doing what they were supposed to do and winning by getting the automatic bid in. And then you take the 11 best teams. That's what all of this was about to begin with. And, especially after talking to Rich, like, their mindset is they don't care who you play. They don't care what they're going to look at your body of work and say, did they deserve to be in or did they not? It's always going to be difficult in those 14, 15, 16s. It's always going to be difficult in those 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that you have to pick. I just think that I would much rather have people that know the game and have been around the game, as long as they're putting together a competent committee, than a computer telling me who deserves what they deserve.
Well, I don't know if you saw this. Greg Sankey today actually said he backs the 9-game conference schedule. And I think that's where the SEC is going to eventually end up, and I think that'll happen in 2026. Here's the thing. If they go to the 9-game conference schedule, then the Big Ten will be more likely to go with the 5-11 model. Right now they're saying if the Big Ten plays 9 and the SEC and ACC are playing 8 conference games, the Big Ten's not going to go with that 5-11 model.
Well, and so each of these have things that I like about them. So let me finish my thought. My favorite scenario from this would have been an 8+2. And what that means is you play 8 conference games, then you're required to play 2 Power 4 games. How you schedule them is up to you. If you go out and you're one of the teams like a Georgia or a Texas or one of those, an Alabama that's not afraid to play competition, and you go out and schedule some Big Ten teams or some big ACC teams, then it's going to be looked at and you're into body of work to be great. Now, what the 9 does for the SEC is it just guarantees you that you play another quality opponent.
It preserves more rivalries.
And it preserves rivalry games. Like, I can't imagine a world where Georgia doesn't play Auburn.
I can't either.
I can't imagine.
Or Tennessee or Alabama.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So, like, each of those have their exciting things because I know Georgia, like you look at in the past 10 years, like Georgia has scheduled Notre Dame, they've scheduled Clemson. Me and my buddy are going to a Georgia-Florida State game in 2027 and 2028.
Well, I know Georgia and Ohio State have got a series coming up in
28 and 29.
29, yeah.
So, like my team's not afraid to go out and schedule these big games.
And to play Georgia Tech every year, who, by the way, is on the rise.
So there's great things to both of them. I think the best out of all of them is 9 games because you're guaranteed to get 9 quality opponents in the SEC.
Yeah, I think 9. Listen, if you're going to have a 16-team league, I think 9 is the minimum. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Big Ten and the Big 12 already play 9. I think the SEC, and I think the ACC needs to go to 9 also. You can't have all the leagues playing 9 and then your ACC sitting there with 8. I think that would look bad on them, in my opinion.
Yeah, 'cause with how we've realigned the conferences and added all these teams, and you have to go out and play, like the 9 game makes sense. If we were living in the world of where the SEC was 5 years ago, I would have said give me an 8+2 model. Give me 8, and then let's get a deal with the ACC and the Big Ten, or rotate between the 3 conferences and try to get some key mark games. Because think about if the Big Ten and the SEC signed a contract where they both went to 8 games and then they did a 2-game schedule. That would be guaranteed that you see a Georgia and which that's happened the past couple of years, but a Georgia and an Oregon,
a
USC,
yeah.
and
Michigan.
Imagine USC coming down to Knoxville
or Penn State. Can you imagine Georgia going up to Happy Valley one year
and that being the whiteout game,
and then Penn State coming down to between the hedges?
So I think if we wouldn't have rushed into all of this conference expansion and all that, this would have been a really neat idea to go to 8+2. But let's do the 9, and I'm still in favor of the 9, and let's make that 10th game let's do contracts, the Big Ten, the SEC, and then the ACC and the Big 12. 1 game a year, they do something that rotates where you see some of these key mark games.
Yeah, I would love that. But the good thing about the playoffs and the on-campus games is you've got you got potential for some of those games happening. And their playoff games, which is even more exciting than a regular season game. Which regular season game, I love college football's regular season. I don't want to mess that up, but I love the fact that you got some postseason games with matchups in home venues that have never happened before.
Yeah, and I'm not going to put words in Rich Clark's mouth. So if you haven't listened to our interview, it's on our Facebook page. It has his picture beside it. We got to interview the director of the college football playoffs. We talked about the potential expansion, but one of the comments that he made was he loved the on-campus games. And from what it sounds like is if he likes them so much, if things line up right, we may get 2 rounds of at-home games.
Would love that.
And to me, that helps with the fatigue of things. I feel like football fans kind of had a fatigue of football by the time January 20 whatever rolled around and we're playing in the national championship game. If you gave fans 2 at-home playoff games, how fun would that be to watch or
and that would
go to?
save fans money from traveling and having to get motels and hotels.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, let's go ahead and take a break. You're listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. We'll be back after this.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
When you're craving serious burger goodness, head to Hardees for the all-new barbecued pulled pork Frisco burger. A charbroiled, quarter-pound, 100% Angus beef patty, topped with 16 hours slow-smoked barbecued pulled pork on toasted sourdough. Only for a limited time at Hardees. Get a free pulled pork Frisco burger when you download the app and join My Rewards. See app for terms.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
What if a friend or a loved one was thinking about suicide? What would you say? What would you do? The Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network provides support. TSPN teaches how to spot warning signs of suicide, and we teach you how to do something. Go to tnprevention.org to learn how you can help with suicide prevention efforts. That's tnprevention.org, a public service announcement of the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network and this station.
For a quarter of a century, Mix 1041 has been taking you out to the ball games.
Swanson to first. The Braves are world champions.
Since 2000, Mix 1041 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals. ESPN Cleveland 1013 is powered by Duracell. Check your wallet. Empty? Check your bills. Overdue? Check your stress level. Maxed? Now, check into cash. Check Into Cash is your one-stop money shop, and we've got everything you need. Payday loans and flex lines of credit options? Check. Quick in-store services like money orders and wire transfers? Check. Turn your unused gift cards into cash? Oh yeah, check. And yes, we cash checks. All kinds. Fast. Check that off your list. Visit checkintocash.com or check into a store to get started. The process is simple, quick, and designed to get you the help you need fast. If you've been approved, you can leave with cash in hand. We have locations in the Chattanooga area, including Cleveland and Athens. Check in, cash out, and get on with life. Check Into Cash. We fund today to make a better tomorrow. Subject to state regulations, eligibility, credit check, underwriting, and approval. Rates, restrictions, and fees apply. Visit the store for details. Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, espncleveland1013.com.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. Hope everyone out there is having a good day. Hey, Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians, $22 to $27 an hour. Excellent benefits beginning day number one: medical, dental, vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. And of course, I do want to throw this out there as well. Hey, the British Open, we've been getting some updates all day long if you've been listening to ESPN Cleveland. And those British Open updates are sponsored by USS. So we appreciate USS sponsoring our British Open updates that's been going on every day or every hour today. So I love that. Now, I've got one thing I want to throw out at you there, Jacob. By the way, I appreciate Philip coming in, producing the show today. Andy's not able to be here, but we've got Jacob in here. So talking a little SEC football with the SEC, the media days is ending today. Got to thinking about quarterback play and how important it is. And I got thinking about some of the great quarterbacks that have played in the Southeastern Conference, or at least at schools that are currently in the SEC. So I'm going to throw 10 quarterbacks out at you, and I want you to tell me which three that you would like to have the most and rank those three. So here are the 10 guys. Vince Young, of course, he played with Texas when they were in the Big 12, but I'm going to include him. Tim Tebow, great quarterback at the University of Florida. Joe Burrow, who arguably the greatest SEC team for one season in history, that 2019 LSU team. Peyton Manning, who had a great 4 years at the University of Tennessee. Cam Newton, Heisman Trophy guy at Auburn, led them to a national championship. Jaden Daniels, who had an unbelievable season at LSU in 2023, Heisman Trophy winner. Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Alabama, and Kyler Murray, who was a dynamic quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. So I've got 10 guys. Listen, I could have come up with 10 more. We're leaving off some great quarterbacks at Georgia and some other schools out there. But those 10 guys, if you could pick 3 guys out of those 10, which 3 would you get, and in what order would you like for them to quarterback your favorite college football team? So let me go over them again. Vince Young, Tim Tebow, Joe Burrow, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton, Jaden Daniels, Johnny Manziel, Tua, Bryce Young, and Kyler Murray.
Whew.
That's a tough list right there.
That's a really tough list. So the Georgia inside me hates what I'm about to say. It hates it. But I don't know that there has ever been a better leader and really just all-around football player than Tim Tebow at Florida. I think he is probably one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
And we're talking just college.
Just college.
Ignoring the professional career.
Yeah, and even then, I think his professional career kind of got cut short due to some political things, because you look at what he did at Denver and led them to the playoffs and got a playoff win.
Overtime over the Steelers.
Yeah. I think he was cut short, but I'm going to go Tim Tebow 1 because he won 2 natties there, right?
Yeah, he did. He was the backup quarterback, the first one when Florida beat Ohio State. That was, what was his name? It was a starting quarterback for Florida. Now, Tim Tebow did play quite a bit.
He played,
but he didn't start.
He did run those run packages.
He did those goal line packages.
It was Chris Leak was the other.
Chris Leak, that's right. Chris Leak was quarterback of that 2006 Florida team. Now 2008, it was Tebow all the way.
Okay, I'm gonna make a lot of Tennessee fans mad. I'm sorry, Peyton Manning is not in my top 3. He didn't win a national championship. He didn't win a national.
No, and he had his that Florida Hex. He could not beat the Gators.
No, and he got snubbed of a Heisman, but he didn't win a Heisman that year either. So I'm gonna go Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, Vince Young.
Pretty strong right there.
I think those are my 3, and it hurts me. Part of me wants to put Joe Burrow at that 3 spot just because the amount of aura that he had while doing it. He just. The cigar in the mouth with the legs crossed holding the national championship like that. He was an absolute stud at LSU, but I think back to the most exciting football game I've ever watched, and it's probably that 2005 Vince Young versus USC.
Oh, my gosh. Vince Young was awesome. And it's hard to include him because he technically didn't play in the SEC, but Texas is now
they're in there.
SEC
So
team.
if you want to throw Texas out because he wasn't in there, I'd put Joe Burrow. But if we're including Texas, I'm going to go Tim Tebow. Cam Newton is one of in college football, you take all of his, we say off the field stuff, the dude stole crab legs, I'm pretty sure. And, there were some things that he did. But when it comes to a football player, they would be 3rd and 12, and there would not be a soul open on the field. And he would say, all right, I'm going to get this first down real quick. And then just would take off, run over a starting middle linebacker that's eventually going to play in the NFL and get a net gain of 14 yards. And it was just so frustrating.
All right, Philip, I want to get your take on this because I know you've been listening to all this.
So I think Joe Burrow is one of the best single-season quarterbacks ever, but you only have one true season from him. So I'm going to keep him off.
And you could say the same thing about Cam Newton.
Yeah. Another reason I'm going to say Cam Newton's off because he really had that one great year. So I want to take the body of work. So I want to put Tim Tebow 1, Vince Young 2, and then Peyton Manning 3.
Okay.
Because Peyton Manning's 3, if he had won a national championship, he'd probably been 1 out of that group. But can you imagine him playing in the playoff system today?
That's
so
true.
That's my order. It's going to be, Tim Tebow, Vince Young, Peyton Manning.
Okay. Those are pretty good. I've got, and y'all get to think I'm biased here, I've got Peyton Manning number 1. I think Peyton Manning, I get it. He didn't win a national championship. Tennessee won a national championship the year after he left. We all know. But who would you rather have, T. Martin or Peyton Manning? T. Martin was a national championship quarterback at Tennessee. Peyton Manning was not. There's not a single person with a brain that would select T. Martin over Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was far and away the better quarterback. He just didn't win a national championship. I'd have Peyton Manning as my number 1 guy. I'd have Tim Tebow as my number 2 guy. And I'd have Bryce Young. Bryce Young, I loved him at Alabama. I know he's not,
I don't think he won a natty.
I don't care. I love when Bryce Young was the quarterback at Alabama. I loved him at Alabama. I loved him, and I liked him better than I did Tua.
I loved him because that's what finally snapped Georgia's losing streak against Alabama was sacking him and in the game. I'm thinking about Nolan Smith rocking the baby and putting his hands next to his face.
But Bryce Young as a college quarterback, man, was he was fun to watch. And maybe there's a little recency bias that I've got going on there because it's still kind of fresh there.
Can I give a critique to this list?
Yeah.
There is a two-time national champion that you're leaving off of it.
I know who you're talking about. A walk-on at Georgia. Stetson Bennett,
who surpassed all the odds and took his team to win not one but two.
And he had a big part in that. And a lot of people say, "Oh, he was a game manager." No, this guy won games for Georgia.
I mean,
he was a key guy for that.
He finished top in Heisman voting one year.
And here's the thing: everyone always says, "Oh, he was a walk-on." That's because people messed up with him. Okay. He was no worse than a 3 or 4 star guy at the end of his career.
You know,
he was really a good quarterback.
So what kind of got me struck off on this was everybody used to compare him and Bryce Young and be like, well, Bryce Young's 2 or 3 inches taller. You look at them shaking hands at the end of the game.
They looked the same size to me.
They were the exact same size. It was just the fact that he was a little dude from South Georgia that didn't get the coverage that most guys do. And he had his growing pains, but the dude was a ball player. When it came down to it, he used things like Tennessee fans calling his phone 700 times the night before the game and then scoring a touchdown and throwing up the flip phone to the fans. He just was a gamer.
I was a real big Eric Zier guy back in the day. I loved Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. He was another guy that I thought was a tremendous quarterback. Small guys like that, they don't typically translate to the NFL. I mean, for crying out loud, Kyler Murray still playing quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's what, 5'10", maybe?
Well, the reason I've upset a lot of Tennessee fans, so I just want to put this straight. I was born in 1993, so the Peyton Manning that I watched was mainly in the NFL.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I've watched his highlights and I've gone back and watched games, but I didn't get to experience it like most of you did, and I'm not a Tennessee fan, so that lore just doesn't hold over my head. Do I think he is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? I do. It's just, for me, it's in the NFL and not necessarily in college football.
It's so funny, and because I lived it. When Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy in 1997 over Peyton Manning, living in this area, it was unbelievable how ticked off Tennessee fans. They really felt like there was a conspiracy, that ESPN drove this conspiracy. And my thing is, guys, do you realize ESPN is not voting? It's the Heisman voters who are not employed with ESPN. ESPN is televising the Heisman. And, yeah, they did put a lot of, stuff on TV as far as, hyping up Charles Woodson. And here's the thing about that Charles Woodson. That was like what I call the perfect storm. You had an undefeated Michigan team. You had Charles Woodson, who was a tremendous defensive back. He was a Hall of Famer as a defensive back, one of the greatest defensive backs that ever played in the NFL, in my opinion. But he also played some offense, and every time Michigan had a big game, he would either have a key interception or he'd do something on offense or special teams. He would run back a punt or something. But every time Michigan was on the national stage, Charles Woodson stepped up. And it was the perfect storm. You had an undefeated Michigan team. The voters were looking for a defensive guy for years, and it was like the perfect storm. We got, who's the next closest guy? Peyton Manning. Well, Peyton Manning can't even beat Georgia or beat Florida. So they used that loss to Florida, and they called it Peyton fatigue, because he was always hyped up, the Manning family, this, that, and the other. And I really think it was the perfect storm, and that's the reason that Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy over Peyton Manning. But, man, it was living around here when that happened. I'll never forget. I was at a Christmas party at the country club. And, we'd already been eating, and, they had TVs on in the bar area. And I remember someone walking back. Now, I didn't. I stayed in the dining area, and the guys coming back, and they're shaking their head. I said, what? He said, because I was sure Peyton was going to win it. And he said, "You're not going to believe this. Charles Woodson won the Heisman." And I thought they were pulling my leg. I said, "No, no." And he said, "I'm serious." So I got up and I went back in there, and of course they're showing, and they're showing, Charles Woodson, Heisman Trophy winner. I was shocked.
Yeah, he should have won it. I mean,
shocked.
He should. And the problem is you look at his entire career, like, he was an absolute stud, and the fact that he walked out of Knoxville without hosting one of those hoisting one of those trophies, like, it blows my mind, because he really was. He was one of the best to ever.
I'll never forget when he had the news conference, because everyone thought, well, he's going to go to the NFL a year early. He'll be the first round. He'll be the first pick in the NFL draft in the 1997 NFL draft. And he said he was coming back to Tennessee because he really thought Tennessee had a chance to win the national championship. He came back to Tennessee, played all 4 years up in Knoxville. Tennessee loses that game to Florida. They just could not overcome that loss. And, Tennessee did not play for national championship. They were very successful in both 1996, 1997. Then in 1998, they won the national championship with T. Martin. But that was an unbelievable situation there. But to this day, I know Tennessee fans to this day who have no respect for the Heisman Trophy. They said I stopped caring about the Heisman Trophy in 1997, and they really believed that it was a conspiracy. I don't think it was, but you know what? Some people get a hold on to that forever. Hey, let's go ahead and take our final break of the day. When we come back, we've got some more college football stuff we're going to talk about, and we'll get into that. You are listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. We'll be back after this.
Time out. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
The difference between an average morning and a Hardee's morning is hearty goodness that lasts till lunchtime. Like Hardee's smoked sausage biscuit, split Hillshire Farm smoked sausage on a made-from-scratch buttermilk biscuit. And our Frisco breakfast sandwich with cherrywood smoked bacon or ham on toasted sourdough. Hardee's, goodness in the making. Download the app and join my rewards for special offers. Available for a limited time at participating restaurants.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking. By you. Donate at V.org. Because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
When you need a new roof, it's all about trust. Your home is too big an investment and you can't afford to make a mistake. Cleveland Plywood has the products and expertise you're looking for. Contractors have trusted them for over 50 years, and they carry only proven products from reputable suppliers like IKO. IKO Cambridge is one of the heaviest weight asphalt shingles you can buy, and their limited warranties are among the industry's best. Protect the investment you've made in your home. Go with the pros at Cleveland Plywood, 2700 20th Street Northeast in Cleveland. Call 472-3357.
Mix 1041 and Honda of Cleveland are teaming up to give one deserving teacher in our local area the chance to win a 2025 Honda Civic LX. Nominate your favorite teacher at mymix1041.com or on the Mix 1041 app.
Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Visit milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
You're listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. Hey, for over 100 years, Mayfield Dairy has been delivering farm-fresh dairy beloved to Southern families. In 1983, Mayfield introduced the iconic yellow jug. The new opaque jug helps block harmful rays, protecting the flavor and nutrients in the milk. Learn more about Mayfield today at mayfielddairy.com. And we've been discussing the SEC Football Media Days is wrapping up today. And it got me thinking about terms that you only hear when discussing college football. And I want to get throw a few of those out there. In no other sport do you hear this, oh, well, that's a good loss, or that's a quality loss. Do you hear that? You don't hear that in baseball. You don't hear it in the NFL. You only hear it in college football.
Yeah, I think you could argue that you hear it in maybe basketball because, like, you know, when they start comparing resumes, like they have like the good losses versus the bad losses.
Maybe you're right, I guess, a little bit there.
Basketball, maybe just because you're going to be comparing resumes like that. But for the most part, when I think about that statement, I'm thinking about football because it comes down to, you know, those losses and how good or how bad they were. If you get blown out by a team,
schedule.
Yeah, you get blown out by a team. Not good look. But if you go to somebody's house and lose by
a field goal,
lose by a field goal, then that loss doesn't look terrible.
Right. All right. They passed the eye test. That's another one you hear a lot. You know, you'll see a team that,
Indiana passed the eye test this year, quote unquote.
They passed the eye test. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but sometimes you got to question sometimes who are they playing.
Yeah.
When you're passing that eye test against an inferior opponent, sometimes that eye test can be a little deceiving.
Well, that's how I feel about Indiana. Like you look at what they did this year, and then they go play Notre Dame, and like that eye test no longer really holds much weight.
They played two really good teams last year, Ohio State and Notre Dame. They lost both games.
Lost both of them.
Yeah. All right. This team's good because their conference is good. We hear that all the time when people are talking about the SEC.
Oh, that's true, Jim.
You also hear this too. Well, they can't be that good because their conference is bad. We heard that about Florida State a couple years ago when Florida State was undefeated. Now, unfortunately, they got the quarterback hurt, and we'll never know what they could have done had they gone into the playoffs. But there was a lot of talk about, but it's Florida State, but the ACC is really not that good this year. And you hear that a lot in college football.
I know that there's a listener right now that had some big feelings about that one, and I'm gonna say I can't comment on it because again, you'll never know.
We'll never know.
I know my team faced them and beat them 63-3. A few weeks later.
But again, I mean, half of Florida State's team had opted out of that game. Let's just be honest. That didn't even look like a quality ACC team at that point.
Let's
all
see
the good players were sitting on the in the stands, man.
Let's see if my phone starts lighting up here in a minute. If you wanted to call, you could always give us a call at what is it? 42. I can't read that.
423-749-1013.
Yeah, if you've got an opinion about that, you're more than welcome to give us a call.
Okay, we hear this all the time, and usually. Hey, if Tennessee played in the ACC, they'd go this. We hear that all the time. Or if Georgia played in the Big 12, they do. Or if they played in the Big 10, they do this. We hear that all the time, do we not?
We do. And here's the thing. If Georgia played in the Big 12, they wouldn't be getting the recruits that they get. So, like, maybe that 1 year, that conversation holds weight. But in my opinion, like, that's one of those topics that I'm like, well, they don't. They don't play in the Big 12. They play in the SEC. So, like...
Yeah, we hear that, and I do that all the time. I said, but they don't.
Yeah.
We can sit there and say, if that, then this. I said, but why are we speculating?
I think it's more so when other teams, like for instance, Indiana last year, you give Indiana even like a Texas schedule. You give Indiana like the easy schedule coming in because they had the easiest schedule in the Big Ten last year and they went undefeated, and then they go play Notre Dame and they get their shoes knocked off. So to me, I get why people say that because it's more so like this. If this team in the Big 12 or this bottom feeder in the Big 10 played in the SEC, would they have that type of schedule? We'll never know. It's just one of those talking points that we get to sit and argue about at lunch on our work break.
Right.
But
I will say this: Indiana last year, and I do think that they got the benefit of an easy schedule, but they did play the two teams that played in the national championship game just the year before. They played Michigan the 2023 national champions, and they played Washington, who Michigan beat in the national championship game. So they did play both those teams, and they beat both those teams. Now, Michigan had a down season, and so did Washington. Now, Michigan did show they were a little bit better when they did beat Ohio State and they did beat Alabama. So Michigan showed that they were a quality team, a little bit more quality than I think Indiana was giving credit for. But Washington was no longer nearly as good as they were the year before because Kalen DeBoer had left Washington, gone to Alabama, and they lost a lot of the players that were playing along with them. Now, here's one you hear all of the time. Is it's not fair that Notre Dame isn't in a conference. How many times do we hear people complain that Notre Dame's not in a conference, and that's just not fair because they don't have to play everyone. They get to choose their schedule. I'm sitting there going, you know what? Notre Dame's been an independent for their entire existence, except for 2020 when Notre Dame did play an ACC schedule, and in fact, they actually played in the ACC championship game. So do you think it is fair that Notre Dame is an independent? Do you think it's fair or not?
We're going to hold on that, Jim. I think we got a caller.
Okay, let's go to the phone line. Who do we got?
Hey Jim, it's Barrett Sinclair. I don't know if you know me, but I know Jacob does pretty well.
Yeah, I know who you are.
Okay. Well, see, he was mentioning something about the guy that was probably going to blow his phone up here in just a second about the Florida State stuff, and well, that tends to be me.
Oh Lord. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so I'm going to try to tie some things together here.
You go ahead. You go ahead and try.
I'm going to try my best. You know I will. What was it about Jermaine Johnson that we always talked about?
Oh, get out of here.
That's neither here nor there. So earlier y'all were talking about the 9-game schedule versus the 8-game schedule, the conference schedules.
Right.
And you mentioned something about the ACC and the SEC need to go to 9 games. And while I can understand that from the SEC standpoint, they've been known to have the stronger strength of schedule according to all the metrics and whatnot. But that doesn't really make sense for the ACC when you're talking about teams like Clemson and Miami and Florida State, because it doesn't make sense to fill that 9th spot with a Boston College or a Wake Forest or something like that. And so you go out and you try to schedule that big game. 2 years ago, Florida State scheduled LSU first game of the year, same with the year before that. This year they got Alabama coming up first game. Jacob mentioned in 26 and 27, they have Georgia, that home and home with Georgia. And so they try to go out and they schedule these to get their strength of schedule a little bit higher, to make it look a little bit better for, the committee. And obviously, even when you do beat LSU and you go down to Orlando and you handle them pretty well. It was a 28-point game until the last minute. It still doesn't give the right look, apparently, to the committee.
Are you saying that because you didn't get in after your quarterback went down?
Yeah, well, I'm saying that because you had an undefeated, power conference champion that didn't get in over 2 one-loss teams that didn't play in their, one of them didn't play in their conference championship.
Yeah. Of course, Alabama, they got in over the Knolls. And, it's unfortunate that the 12-team playoff didn't happen the year before because, obviously, Florida State would have gone in, even with their quarterback going down. And we all know that Florida State team that played in the bowl game, I mean, half the team had opted out of that game.
It was a shell of itself.
So we have no clue.
Yeah.
You cannot go by the results of that game, especially the margin of victory.
I do, though. I do, though, Jeff.
Well, of course you do. You're a Georgia guy. But, I mean, obviously we know what Florida State looked like for 99% of the season, and then the bowl game, and I didn't even recognize any of these guys. They all looked like guys that were deer in headlights there because I didn't even recognize half those guys.
Yep. A lot of them were true freshmen that hadn't played all year because they had, juniors and seniors that opted out that were ahead of them.
And that is the one thing about the expanded playoffs that I do like because you're not seeing the opt-outs. The bowl season had become a joke of all the opt-outs out of these bowls. So at least the expanded postseason, especially the playoff games, nobody's opting out of even a first-round game. Unless maybe they're a transfer, they're transferring out, which now I think the transfer portal is going to be pushed back. I don't think you'll see that now.
All right, before we get you
well, and I think NIL kind of is going to play a factor in that as well. You talk about the rumors that came out with Nico trying to hold Tennessee's feet over the fire right there before their playoff game.
Yeah, against Ohio State. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get you off the phone, Jim was asking me a question about Notre Dame. We'll let him ask it to you. We'll get your answer, and we'll let you get off, and then we'll wrap things up here on the show. So go ahead, Jim.
Is it fair that Notre Dame isn't in a conference? We hear that all the time by people that obviously your team is in a conference. So is that fair? I don't have a problem with it, but a lot of people do.
I don't have a problem with it. And it's because they tend to try to schedule not as tough as they could, but, as tough as they can with what they've got. They've always got SC on there. They've always got, Navy that's on their schedule, one of the armed forces teams.
Yeah. And Stanford every year, too.
Threat. Yeah, Stanford every year. And so they go out and they try to schedule, tough games, home and away. So I guess I don't mind that. If they were out there scheduling, Bowling Green and UTEP every year, then, every game every year, then obviously, we'd have an issue with that. We'd view them a little bit different. But the fact that they go out and they play a fairly significant Power 5 schedule, kind of says something. I also know that they just recently reached an agreement. I think ESPN was involved with it, and the ACC, stating that Notre Dame now has to play Clemson and Florida State so many times every 5-10 years, whatever it is. So the fact that they're willing to make moves and go out and do those kind of things shows me that they're I think that they're okay being where they are, and they're a big enough brand to get away with it.
For sure. I think that's a great answer.
That's what a lot of people's frustration is. Yeah. Is I don't know that, so insert team here, Florida, for example, has got the big enough brand. Even Tennessee has the big enough brand. Notre Dame is a international brand, and they can get away with stuff like that.
Well, thanks for joining us, Barrett. Appreciate your insight on those things. Go Dogs.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Barry. We appreciate it.
Let's talk Jermaine Johnson for a second.
Hang up the phone.
All right, man. We appreciate it. Hey, and anyone out there, we'd love to have you to call in, especially when football season gets here. We want to hear the reaction and the opinion of our listeners. Man, we have already run out of time.
I know, man.
It has flown by. So, anyway.
Well, I did like his answer. Just to give my tidbit on it real quick before we go to break. I thought it was a good answer. I think they play enough quality opponents to get away with it. I think what average fans don't like is that they don't have to play the Texases every year of the world like you would have to play in the SEC champion or in an SEC conference.
Yeah, they don't play in a conference championship game.
You have to play a Georgia. You have to play a Texas. You have to play those. I think that's where the average fan gets upset. But for the most part, I think they go out and fill out their schedule pretty well to be able to say my body of work is just as good as your body of work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, we appreciate everyone out there that listened to us today. Stay tuned here on ESPN, but we will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. You've been listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland.
Your new home for 24-hour sports coverage. ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC.